there is a part of me that wonders if he was sort of trying to like incept us by telling us how.
Do the spinning top.
Yeah, like to tell us as I'm listening to that answer, and thinking back at some of his other answers as our chat is kind of going back and forth on how they felt that or how they took what he
Yeah,
meant.
the chat's on attack today.
I do wonder if part of him just reiterating how bad the job was when he took it over, or how bad of a condition the program was in, was just him reminding us. Like, obviously, we all know who the coach was before he got here. So how do we
Yeah.
think the job got to that position where Coach Rhule can say things like, yeah, they were behind on everything, and
That's
they
fair.
had about 50 knee injuries when I got here. And, like, there's only so many times you can say it before, maybe he's he can be a little snarky sometimes. I
Yeah.
just wonder if there's a part of him that was like, yeah, I'm just going to talk about how bad of a condition everything was left in when I got here.
Well, and he even referenced it too about when because someone had brought up Dylan and how do you convince a guy like Dylan to come to your program instead of going on to somewhere else? And I thought he had a great answer with that, and he even made a slight reference in how maybe he and Dylan are actually just kindred spirits in the same way, where he had said, you could go to an Ohio State, you could go to a Georgia, and you could be playing for a national championship, and it would be easy to do that. And they're going to ask you to make one or two throws in a big game, and you can win those games. But it's harder to do it here at Nebraska, and it would be more impactful if you brought Nebraska back. And I almost wonder if he was speaking out of his own term, too.
Yeah.
The way that he spoke about how he recruited Dylan, because he said it's going to be hard, and you have to accept the challenge. And he was talking about what he's seen different from Dylan in year 1 to year 2. But it almost felt at times that he was talking about himself, that, yeah, it was really bad here. It was going to be a struggle. It was going to be tough in year 1. Year 2 was going to be harder. That's why it just sounds like the confidence level of year 3 is shooting through the roof more and more, because he knew how bad it was and how far they had to come from year 1 and where they are now, not only in terms of the players, but also maybe himself as a coach.
Yeah, I do. The other part that I thought was interesting about him talking about how he recruited Dylan was talking about Dylan's future as an NFL quarterback, right?
Yeah.
He goes, okay, if basically it was like, hey, if you are who everyone thinks you are, right? Top pick in the draft or one of the top picks in the draft, you're going to go to a bad team in a bad city, and it's going to be the first time in your football life that you've had to figure things out. He's like, you probably don't want that to happen at the NFL level. Like, if your goal is to get that first contract and that first guaranteed money and that first paycheck, then that's a fine way to operate.
Yep.
But if your goal is to have long-term impact and money and legacy as an NFL quarterback, then you better figure out how to build a team before you get to the NFL level and are asked how to do it. Because, I mean, he is right. You look at a lot of these guys that struggle, and it is the first time they've really struggled as a quarterback or really had to go into a place where they didn't have all the best talent around them, or went into a place where they weren't clearly the best player in the league or the conference or whatever, right? And so you look at some of the guys like, I mean, both Trevor Lawrence is a great example.
Yeah. He's only had success until he got to Jacksonville.
I mean, how many times did you – and listen, you want guys that win, right?
Yes.
Like, that's part of it too. But how many times do we hear, like, Trevor Lawrence hasn't lost a game in like 8 years or whatever, right? Or he hadn't lost a game as a starter in however long.
Or he'd only lost a regular season game since he was in middle school or something.
Yes,
yeah, something like that.
All this crazy stuff, right? And then he goes to Jacksonville, a bad team in a bad city that doesn't have all the talent around him, and he struggled. I don't question Trevor Lawrence's talent ever, famously, but and I still don't.
Yeah.
I do question whether he was prepared to turn around a program that he had never experienced anything like that before.
Yeah.
Like, that is a genuinely difficult position and a really interesting recruiting pitch to a guy like Dylan. Obviously, there were other ties here that made that pitch even worth hearing to him. But you bring up a good point. I do wonder if they're kindred spirits in the sense that, hey, it's more fulfilling to build something than it is to just be the next guy in line.
Yeah.
Right?
And we always assumed the recruitment of Dylan was partly because of mostly legacy and last name, right? That it was, imagine what you could be if you bring Nebraska back successfully. And it was always it was almost like a Roman Coliseum type pitch from like Husker fans. And even in my own belief, that was think of the statues and where your name will be placed and how you will become a legend in Lincoln comparative to anywhere else that you could play college football across the nation. But instead, Rhule sets this entire different precedent and standard of something I'd never even considered, that, no, Dylan chose this because it was going to be hard and it was going to be difficult. And Rhule even answered my own question about why would you send Dylan out to Big Ten Media Days to address all that stuff. And he said, this is because I trust Dylan, and I know that he's going to be successful because I've seen it from him in practice. I've seen it from him and how he's a different leader now and how he's no longer asking people like, hey, let's get up. Like, we got to get going. We're going to get moving. It's no, you're either riding with me or you're not. And just the different in what everything we have heard from Rhule about Dylan from his freshman year, from his recruitment to where he is now, it feels like we're talking about a quarterback that's not 19 or 20 years old. It's a guy that's in his third or fourth year in the league, and he's not just figured it out, but he is leading others to get them on the right track with him.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, and Rhule said this at the end of his opening larger segment with the entire media, and he goes, talking about the pain of losing at Iowa and things like that. And he goes, sometimes it's the pain you need.
Yep.
Right? Sometimes the pain is necessary to get where you want to go, whether you're training for an Ironman. Were there times where that sucked?
Yes. Every day.
Were there times where that was genuinely painful?
Yeah. Mostly coming to work and people making fun of my lunchbox, but yes. Yeah.
I mean, physically, but
physically,
that's
yes.
Outside of the lunchbox taunts.
Yes.
I was an amateur power lifter. There were times where that was very painful.
But there's no success without pain, right?
So that's the point.
Yeah.
Right? The point is, whether you're Dylan taking over a great program like Ohio State or Georgia, at some point the pain will come.
Yep.
Right? At some point. I would argue you're better off as not just an athlete, but as a human being, if you experience some of that pain earlier, so it's not foreign to you by the time by the time something real hits you, right? Because I mean, there's people, we all know people, right? They've had a pretty fortunate existence, and that's not to say nothing bad's ever happened to them, but the first time something really bad hits them is later in life, and they don't know what to do with it.
Yep.
Right? That's not going to be the case for Dylan. That's obviously not the case for Coach Rhule, where he has had to go through the suck in order to come out the other side multiple times, right? He had to go through Temple and Baylor, and then now he went through Carolina before he got to Nebraska.
Yep.
Dylan is going to be better off going through the pain now than his first 3 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
Than when he finally gets drafted and they go, okay, all of a sudden you're sitting here and you go, I don't know how to do this. You hit a 6-game losing streak your first year in the NFL and you go, what do we do now? Right? He's been through that. Had a 4 or 5 game losing streak last year, and they figured it out because they still needed to make a bowl game, and so they came through. And they were able to do that. That to me is really crucial here, and to find guys that message resonates with is actually really crucial, right? Yep. We talked last week about certain guys getting offers or not getting offers or whatever, right? I think there's certain guys that embrace the pain coming early so that they can get through it and get better. That's one of the things that, I know Damon's not even here. We'll talk to him later, but that's one of the things I love about Caleb.
Yeah.
Caleb seems like one of those guys, and I know him a little bit. We're not tight or anything.
Well, DB's referenced it himself, too.
DB's referenced it. Obviously, I've talked to him myself. I really like Caleb as just a human being, but that's a kid that is willing to embrace the crap, right? Because he knows when he gets out on the other side of it, damn near unstoppable, right?
Yeah, I don't think Caleb, again, I don't know him as well as even you do, but I don't think Caleb chose to go to Nebraska because he was like, I'm going to be a first-year starter. I'm going to go out and play for 4 straight years, and then I'm off to the league after that. I think he knew the struggle he was going to get into.
I mean, this can be for anybody. I mean, this can be for Riley Van Poppel. This can be for Keona Davis. This can be for Vincent Shavers. This can be for Willis McGahee. This can be for Donovan Jones. This can be for Caleb Benning. You don't think they were sitting there last year as Nebraska's going through their struggles mid-season, and they're thinking I can play now. Yep. Right? I can win now. I can help us win now. But they all went through the crap, in their instance, not getting the opportunities they wanted for whatever reason. Yep. Maybe the coaching staff didn't think they were ready. Maybe they weren't practicing consistently at a level.
We know RVP felt that.
Right. Yeah. Maybe they weren't practicing consistently at a level where the coaches felt like they had earned that trust or earned that opportunity. Right. you hear it all the time. We heard it last year. It's like, hey, you got to stop the run to earn the right to rush the passer, right?
Yep.
Doesn't mean he's not good enough to rush the passer right now. It means he hasn't earned the right to get to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when you look at the guys Nebraska recruits, I mean, how many did I just name? Like 9?
Yeah.
Just on defense, and all guys that are, in their second year in the program, basically. Yep. I think when Nebraska goes out and looks for guys, when you're talking about that mentality, when you're talking about what Coach Rhule is looking for and why some guys get an offer and why some guys don't and whatever else, I think if you could identify which guys embrace going through the pain and understanding that they'll be better for it, I bet you'll see those are the guys that have offers. I bet you'll see those are the guys that Nebraska goes hard after. And I'll bet you'll see, and that's, again, doesn't mean any of the other kids are bad kids or not good football players. They're not going to be successful. Nebraska's looking for something very specific, and I'd be surprised if I could give Coach Rhule some truth serum if he didn't say that was one of the things he was looking for.
And we even heard from Vers last week when I asked him about sending Lutovsky out. And I asked, I was like, of all the linemen, is that the one that you wanted to hear from? He's like, yeah. If you knew his story, if you knew the crap that he had been through and everything that he had to go through and the person that he was 2 years ago to the person he is now and the player he is now and the leader that he is now, yeah, you would want to hear that story. You would want to hear Henry Lutovsky out there talking about what he has been through to get to where he is now. That's the type of character building that Nebraska football has had to go through for 2 years. But it's almost, I mean, in a sicko way, it's probably what Rhule, like, you don't ever want to have to go through that. But there's probably a deep, dark part of Rhule that's like, I'm so glad that we had to suffer because now we're ready for it.
How many times has he said stuff during game weeks where he's like, man, I kind of hope they just return the first kick for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Just to see what we do when we're punched in the face. I kind of hope it's 20 degrees out with 40-mile-an-hour winds and raining and sleeting. He's like, I just want to see how we react. Like, how many times has he said something like that in game week? And we're like, oh, Coach Rhule just like,
yeah, maybe
that's just how he operates. Maybe he thinks, hey, if you put the crappiest situation in front of me, that's where I win.
Yeah.
That's where I know that I can be better than you.
He's a football sicko, man.
He is, and I love it.
Yeah.
He's a football sicko.
He's our sicko.
He's our sicko. No, I absolutely love it.